So I think check your beliefs, be open and curious, and chasing what you're passionate about.
Yeah, I love that. It's also know thyself and own it.
Yeah.
Know who you are, play to your strengths. I think so much time is wasted on trying to make up for the weaknesses. Well, you could just double down on the strengths and go deeper, right? Inch wide, mile deep. Welcome to another episode of the Powerful Man Show. I am joined again with an amazing man, Mr. Arthur Magulianiti. So, I want to talk to you about living to your edge. I have a feeling that most guys listening to this won't understand what I mean when I talk about living to your edge. Some people, this is different to comfort zone, right? The way I see it anyway is different to the comfort zone. And I think most guys who are looking to get deeper levels of clarity, certainty, guys that kind of feel stuck, unclear, and it's showing up as a lack of polarity in their relationship. So I'll be more specific there. Sex is dwindling. Sex is kind of rare, quite frankly, when you're not living to your edge. Compliments are even rarer. Your wife typically doesn't look at you like she used to. Your kids typically don't respect you. Business is a little bit meh, just going through the motions. It could be making great money, but at the same time, you feel very disconnected from it. Your body is kind of just a bit achy and rusty and just soft. And life is just a little bit gray. And 9 times out of 10, in my experience, is because men have stopped living and leaning to their edge. Sexually, spiritually, physically, emotionally, and mentally. The 5 edges. They've stopped. And the times in their life when they have felt the most alive, they have felt the most free, they have felt the most on fire, the most unstoppable, it has been. And, this is, we've had the luxury of speaking with thousands of men, not just if I talk about speaking with, tens of thousands,
right?
Working with thousands of men. And this is true in every case, right? I've seen this across the board with guys aged in their 30s, their 40s, their 50s, even into the 60s, from the US, UK, Canada, Australia, South Africa, other places in Europe. The moments when they reminisce on their life, right? The times in their life when it felt fantastic. The one common denominator is that we're always living and leaning to their edge. And I think this is a little bit of a Pandora's box that guys don't realize has been working for them and begins to work against them. But when they actually start to tap into it and open Pandora's box and start living and leaning to their edge again, oh my God, the transformations we've seen in the guys. Think about the guys in the inner circle when
Right.
every week we've been grilling them. How are you going to get uncomfortable in the next 7 days? And, they'll give a response. And the first response is never what we take because it's just typically a half-assed response. It could even be, well, I'm going to have this honest conversation with this person. Well, no, come on. You're 2 years into the movement, 3 years in, you're used to having honest conversations. It's who you are. That's not going to get you uncomfortable. That's just a task. That needs to be done. How are you going to get uncomfortable in the next 7 days? Well, you know what? The thing that would really light me up, okay, now, keep going. We're now on the right path. As we press people and as it becomes their standard for the guys, keep it with the inner circle right now. As it becomes their standard of living, I get uncomfortable, I seek discomfort, and thus I live and lean to my edge. The power that they then live in, I'll define power as autonomy. The level of autonomy and freedom they have in their life to be who they want to be is just unparalleled.
Yeah. And it's so refreshing, invigorating, inspiring to see these guys in the space that they get to when they do that. And that's what everyone wants, right?
Mm-hmm.
It's just guys are so scared of actually leaning into the edge, for a bunch of reasons that mostly don't really stack up when you actually dissect them. And yeah, I mean, that's the only way to live, really. That's the only way. And we were talking about making progress. You want to make real progress in your life, you get to lean into your edge. That's on the other side of that fear of leaning into your edge, is that freedom that you've been wanting. It's that passion, it's that happiness, it's that feel good. It's all of those good stuff, which is not where you're at and what you have right now.
No.
If you're not leaning into it.
No. Let's talk about some examples of living and leaning into their edge in the 5 edges. Right. Let's talk about it physically. That's an easy one.
Mm-hmm.
Give some examples.
For the masculine, right? And not only, but I think it's important that we master our bodies, right? And just going to the gym 3 times a week and make it like, oh, it's, like taking a shower. No, own your body, right? Know what your body's capable of. Make it a weapon. Don't accept anything less than just the best for your body, right? That is, I believe, leading into your edge. It's really pushing yourself to achieve the best possible body health, and not just the body, but your health, right? Holistically. I mean, obviously, that's what we talk about. It's not about the 6-pack. That's part of the whole picture, It is about you being healthy. It's making sure that, let me back up. It's really about, we're talking about penetrating, right? The masculine gets to penetrate his life, right? How do you penetrate your health, right? How do you get ahead of the curve? It's not settling for average. It's not settling for mediocrity. It's not like, okay, I'll see you in the gym at 8 and, we'll hang around the cooler and we'll watch our phones or whatever. No, you're on a mission. And that mission is to conquer your health, to be ahead of the curve on your health. And so that's diet, that's exercise, that's your biochemistry, right? Knowing all the values, and not just, it's taking full responsibility for everything that has to do with your health, and you dictating what's right for you moving forward.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, fasting, great one.
Yeah.
I love that Iron Man, he does a 5-day fast every quarter.
Mm-hmm.
Not Iron Man as in the movie, like the Iron Man in the movement. Yeah, I love that. I love that. Fasting's a great way, especially a 5-day fast, right? 5-day water fast, to live and lean to your edge, to penetrate, right?
Yeah.
The stuff that's going to come up during that process is going to bring some stuff up. The cold exposure.
Yeah.
You've obviously just got back from Finland, where you were doing some of the ice swimming, and not the kind where you wear a wetsuit.
Yeah.
A different kind. But yeah, okay, let's stick with this because it's going to be a shorter episode. Examples of living and leaning to the edge sexually.
So, yeah, this is a bit of a bugbear with me because I think most guys are wholly unprepared to be really good lovers, right? And I think that part of that is a lack of education on their part, a lack of watching too many movies or the wrong kind of movies. But for me, it's really about learning how to be a better lover and expressing that, and being open to expressing that with your partner. And so being able to take her to places where she'll always want to come back. I often joke with the guys like, well, if you finish in 3 minutes, right, why would she want to come back and say, let's have sex? She's not, right? Because it's not enough. It's not enough. So becoming a master in the bedroom, all right, for a mutual connection of a higher level than just a 3-minute job. That for me is being leaning into your edge and being comfortable within yourself to be able to bring that darker side in the bedroom. Obviously, we're talking mutual consent and all of that and respect, but being open to that and being expressive of yourself and owning yourself in that environment.
Yeah, I'd agree with that. fantasies. I think certain conversations, right, can be definitely leaning to the edge sexually.
Yeah.
Being very honest and open with your desires and what you want. There's lots of conversations that can spin off from that, right? Lots of tools that we've given the men in the movement over the years, the yes, no, maybe list.
Yeah.
All sorts, but all great ways and great examples of living and leaning to your edge. The master of the domain challenge, right? That the guys doing the movement where they, basically abstain from. I don't think they abstain from sex, but definitely ejaculation, don't they? For some of them have done it for months.
Yeah.
It's incredibly impressive, but it's living and leaning to your edge sexually, right? Because urges are going to come up still, desires are going to come up still. The guys even still have sex when they go through that. Living and leaning to the edge emotionally.
So I think for the emotional side is being okay to express what's happening in your life with the right people. Yeah, I think part of that is being vulnerable, allowing yourself to be vulnerable. I think it's all about communicating openly, honestly, with what's on your heart, with the people that matter. Obviously, not everyone is the right person to be doing that, and so we're talking about your people, right? The people that you trust. Being okay to open up to them, being okay to be accountable to people, showing up fully, and sharing what's on your mind, on your heart. And we have great success with that in our packs. The guys form a bond with each other, and in our packs, whether it's 5 or 10 people, whatever it is, they become a family, and anything goes because you have that safety there, and being okay with being seen. I think that's the key part to leading into your edge on the emotional side.
I love that. Yeah. I would add in really making friends with, the darker side comes into this too. Really making friends with your anger. Learning to have a healthy relationship with the anger that resides inside of you. Because I think as men, it's a primal energy. It exists on a spectrum, right? Yeah. When it's, ironically, a lot of the toxic masculinity that's in the world, I'm not a fan of that term. A lot of the issues with masculinity that exist in the world where it results in unhealthy displays of aggression, be it through stabbings, shootings, whatever it may be, are because typically, one of the reasons is because those people haven't developed a healthy relationship with their anger. And therefore, as a result, it gets suppressed and shut down and pushed until it then erupts in a violent act, right? Anger exists on a spectrum. On one end, you've got someone that's incredibly passive and has no boundaries and is a doormat and all the rest of it. On the other end, you've got somebody who commits an awful violent crime, right? There's a middle ground within that where you can have a very healthy relationship with your anger, whereby you can very much stand your ground. You're very connected to how it feels. You think about 80% of communication is nonverbal, right?
I want to buy you a gift. Look, if your marriage is struggling, and let's be real, every marriage struggles at some point, but yours is struggling where you've lost that love, admiration, respect, I want to help you. I want to buy you a copy of the book that I wrote, A Man's Guide on How to Save Your Marriage Without Talking About It. In here, I've distilled over 8 years of programs that we've developed at TPM to help men just like you save their marriages without talking about it. There's no fluff, no BS. It's an action plan that you can start using today to actually save your marriage and bring that love and respect back into your family, back into your house. You deserve it. Look, all I ask is you pay the postage, you pay the shipping, I'll buy the book for you. That way you can take massive action today. Click the link or find it in the bio and get your copy now.
Your posture, your facial expression, your tone of voice, how you carry yourself, they all say a lot about you and who you are and where you're at in any moment in time. And as a result, somebody gets a real read on what you're willing and unwilling to accept in any moment. But unless you're willing to connect with that side of yourself without seeing it as something that's bad or scary or or whatever it may be. And it takes living and leaning to your edge to get to know that part of you and be okay with that part of you and see it as something that's healthy and integral if you are going to your point, penetrate the world. Because, you know, and when we say penetrate the world, what we're talking about with that is you showing up in the world in the way that you want to be without giving a shit. Like, yes, be ethical. Yes, have morals, all that kind of stuff. I'm not talking about treating people badly. Treat people very respectfully. Treat people how you would want to be treated. And when you are able to experience the kind of freedom that money can't buy, which is a freedom to be who you want to be, not the freedom of time, not the freedom of money, not the freedom of location. It's the freedom to be who you want to be. That's what we're all after. That's penetrating the world, because you say what you want to say, you do what you want to do, you play to win, you take risks, you enjoy the journey, you laugh at yourself. There's an absolute freedom and authenticity that comes within that. But part of that living to your edge emotionally is this darker piece too.
Yeah. I think like my definition of integrity is when you talk and you feel and you think the same thing, that's being completely congruent. A lot of guys are not there.
No, not at all.
And I think if you can live a life where you are completely congruent in what you think and what you feel and what you say, and you think, did I say that? Then you are living truthfully, authentically, and I'd say that's living at your edge.
Yeah. Definitely take a lot of risks when you're in that spot, right?
Yeah.
Because if you're going to be honest, which is a big piece, you got to be okay with upsetting people.
Yeah.
And you got to be okay with realizing that how somebody takes what you say, their reaction to you, their response, that's theirs to deal with.
Yeah.
Right? That's not yours. You can't worry about that. Yes, obviously, again, you want to be ethical and all that stuff. I keep feeling the need to say that. I just imagine somebody taking this completely out of context.
Right.
And I don't I shouldn't feel the need to say that, quite frankly.
When we're talking about sharing your truth, you're not sharing like a hammer over the head, because the truth can hurt, right? But it is sharing it with love, right? In a way, you can say the same thing in two different ways. One, you can really damage people with it. The other way, you can actually help people with it. It's still your truth. And so there is a delivery aspect that we get to take into account as well.
Okay, so living and leaning to your edge spiritually. Surrender. For me, it's surrender. It's getting out of the way. One of the biggest shifts for me in my life was realizing it was never about me, and it was about we. And when I chose to get out of the way and stop making it about me and make it about we, the thing that was flowing through me, and chose to surrender to it and follow what felt right, it was, it's just magical. It's such a magical way to live.
Yeah.
Whenever I make it about me, it slows down. Whenever I make it about we, it speeds up. I've said it many times. I feel like I'm a guardian of TP. It doesn't feel like it's my thing. Even, it's our thing. It's the world's thing. Whether you surrender to God, the universe, whatever you want to call this thing that not everyone, but people can typically feel, that people typically give trust to. There's so much power in that, at least for me.
Yeah. And I guess it's going to be different for everyone. I would agree with you. I think the more I've surrendered to life, the easier things I've got, right? And I think other people will feel something different with regards to spirituality, because some people will take it to religion and things like that. And whatever is your thing, are you actively pursuing that? Are you actually progressing in that? Are you doing the work in that? That's important. But spirituality is quite a confusing term for different people, right? Not a confusing, but what I mean is people have different definitions for it. And so it's whatever your definition is, are you leaning into your edge there? Are you penetrating that?
Yeah, a big piece of the spiritual edge as well is doing the right thing. And there's so much overlap between these three, and there's an intersection that exists between all of these. But doing the right thing. It means to surrender, right? Doing the right thing when no one's looking, because you know it's the right thing to do. It's not always easy. It's not always comfortable. It would often be easier not to at times. I guess, would I say that's living and leaning to my edge? Probably not, actually. That's just how I operate. But okay, the final one, mental.
I think living into edge is actually just challenging your belief system, right? And all more important nowadays is allowing the opportunity for different perspectives to come in, because we get so fixed in our it's this way, and no, and I'm not willing to entertain any other thought. Well, if you're not willing to entertain any other thought, are you saying that you've got the right thought? So I think being open, being curious, definitely leaning into what is inspiring you and what you're curious about. That for me is really important, and living to your edge. It's more pleasurable, right? But it also allows you to progress more. So I think check your beliefs, be open and curious, and chasing what you're passionate about.
Yeah, I love that. It's also know thyself and own it.
Yeah.
Know who you are, play to your strengths. I think so much time is wasted on trying to make up for the weaknesses, where you could just double down on the strengths and go deeper, right? Inch wide, mile deep. And so many people deny their own greatness, right? They play down their strengths because they don't want to come across as being arrogant. Yeah. You'll never get somebody who is comfortable in their own skin calling someone arrogant because they are also comfortable in their own skin. Right? It's kind of like the idea you'll never get somebody who's successful in business talking shit about somebody who's just starting out in business. They're always going to encourage it, right? Whereas somebody who's never even started a business, typically those ones will be the ones that'll be talking crap about the person that's starting out, even though they have no idea what it takes, right? Living and leaning to the edge mentally would be really building on what you said, really knowing who you are and being very good with that, and really owning that, owning the beliefs that you have questions and you do believe to be true, right? Being very comfortable with that without bending all the time to please people or to fit in or to play small. So often, we've worked with tons of men who have dimmed their light. They've played small because they didn't want to make other people feel uncomfortable. It sounds so crazy when you say it that way, right? But it is so easily done. So the reason why I wanted to bring this up is because one of the core components of the Ascension blueprint is the Edge Expansion protocol. And a big piece within that protocol is giving the guys a tool to help them begin to live and lean to their edge. Every day, we've got the edge tracker that they're going to be using. They've got threshold journaling that they do, because naturally, as you live and lean to your edge, you'll know yourself. There's things you'll learn about yourself at your edge, right? You also realize it's not as scary as you've been making it out to be. And when it becomes a way of life, the freedom that you experience on the other side of it, the magnetism that you then have, the clarity, just everything begins to align. Because typically when the guys come into the program, before they come in, they're stuck, they're unclear, life has become very mundane. They want to get back to being the guy that they once knew, right? This particular piece is one of the ways in which to do that. And when they choose to live this way, it's not easy, but it's worth it. And when they choose to live this way, they become magnetic again. The wife begins to lean in. Oh, this is the guy I remember. Business takes on a whole new meaning and a whole new level. The health transforms. Their kids change around them. Because who they are and how they're operating completely levels up. It's not like they become a different person. They just become who they once were. They remember. It's like a remembering, right? They've just lost touch with it over 5, 10, 20 years as they've had kids and marriage and they've built a business, and it's just been a slow erosion of who they are. And I just love seeing it come back. I just love seeing it come back to life, because the energy around these guys, like being around these kind of men who are living this way, is, oh my God, it's infectious.
It is, yeah, and it's inspirational. I mean, how many of the
Oh,
guys
for
just
sure.
inspire me, you know, and in what they have achieved. And interestingly, it may start off slowly, but there's like a snowball effect as well. And
Oh, yeah.
and the more you do this, then suddenly, wow, look, boom,
like a muscle,
boom, boom,
right?
boom, 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 things
Yeah.
just start
The
happening.
more you work the muscle, the stronger it gets, you
And
know.
things happen rapidly in a way that,
Oh,
like,
yeah.
and how many times guys say, like, I can't believe where I am now a year down the line.
Oh.
I don't even recognize myself. If you told me I would have done this like a year ago, I would have laughed in your face. And here you go. And the funny part is, they're only just getting started.
I love it. So, gents, if you want to find out more about the Ascension Blueprint and how it might be able to work for you, go ahead and send the word send into VIP, that's very important person, at thepowerfulman.com. That's a send into VIP at thepowerfulman.com. Somebody on the team will give you a call, ask a little bit about your situation, and share about the program, and you can just take it from there. Either way, if this resonates with you and you don't email us, just do something. Don't stay on the fence. The worst place to be in your own life is on the fence. Like Dougie Fresh always says, at the moment of insight, take massive action. We'll see you next time on The Powerful Man Show.